Linus.
Hi,
Uh,
okay, Mark. Sounds good.
yeah.
I love all of your background there. I'm a big fan of Alien myself, and
Oh, yeah.
I'm surprised they don't use the music from it in all the subsequent sequels in the TV show. Why can't we hear that music? That music is so important to the original.
Yeah, Jerry Goldsmith's score for that was fantastic, and then Horner for Aliens was good, but you don't hear it anymore. You don't hear that theme or anything in
They
the
got to put the original one. I
spin-offs.
thought they could use it in the new series, to be honest.
I thought they would have, considering where it takes place.
And it's really basically only three notes. Do 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 do. Or like four or five. Like that's it. That's
Yeah.
all I want to hear.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a huge soundtrack junkie, so yeah,
Yeah.
it's for me. I don't understand why they haven't used it since
Yeah,
in
really.
any of the movies because it is very effective.
Yeah,
But I mean, as you would know, music's very effective in film.
sure.
You've been it's been around you for quite some time, and that's very evident in the new documentary that you have coming out, Strange Journey, the story of Rocky Horror. I want to thank you for taking time, Linus, to talk to me about this.
My pleasure.
Now I have a chance to watch it. I can't drop my review yet, but give you a little hint that I loved it. Uh,
Okay.
I,
Good to hear.
I've been a fan of the movie ever since a friend of mine in high school introduced me to it, and you managed to capture the energy and everything in the feel of Rocky Horror. But I was wondering, what made you decide to pull the trigger finally and do the documentary on this? Because it's been around now 50 years, and there haven't been that many documentaries done
There's been
about it.
none really. I think there was a behind the music
Hmm.
VH1 special maybe 30 years ago or something, and that's been about it. So yeah, I mean it's in the movie as well, but I was looking at the YouTube comments underneath the clip of I'm Going Home,
Hmm.
and that's where it really started to coalesce, and I was like, let's talk about how passionate and how much people love not only this song but the whole of the Rocky Horror experience. We always knew as a family how much it touched people, but it wasn't until those comments that I realized the sincere love and appreciation for it in a way that I probably hadn't before. There was a soldier who'd gone on 3 tours in Iraq who used to play "I'm Going Home" because he wanted to go home. There's the mother and daughter, and the daughter used to watch it, and mother and daughter used to watch it every year. It was like an anniversary. It was like a religion for them in a way. And then her mother passed away, so she played it at her mother's funeral, and they just kept going on and on and on, and you start to realize that the relevance and the legacy of Rocky really boils down to two key words, and that's community and connection. And I think that we're all striving for that in our lives, and Rocky has always provided that for people who felt like they're on the fringes of society, basically.
Yeah, and you captured that in the documentary very well of how it kind of gave people a permission to be who they wanted to be or who they were, like their true selves.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and I found it interesting because as much as Rocky Horror showed people that, your documentary for me as a fan showed me it's still okay to really enjoy Rocky Horror because there's lots of people out there still enjoying the film today, like 50 years later.
Yeah, it's what Rocky Horror works on many different levels. There's obviously the music, and the soundtrack is probably one of the top 10 greatest soundtracks ever made.
Mhm.
Obviously I'm biased, but I really think it has that relevance. And there's Tim Curry's performance, which is incredible. There's an argument to be made that Rocky wouldn't be as successful as it was if it was as it is if it wasn't for his performance. So, um, and then there's the people feeling free to be themselves, as you mentioned, their authentic selves, without any shame or
Mhm.
judgment. And isn't that what we all want? We all want to go through the world not feeling shameful, not feeling judged, and how wonderful that people can come together in that place it used to be every Friday and Saturday nights, mainly Saturday nights now. But there's still over 250 active shadow casts around North America. Rocky Horror will outlive us all, basically. After we're all dead, people are still going to be performing it and watching it.
And that's what I think speaks to just how special this film is. I mean, there's other films that are considered cult classics, but Rocky really is truly the true origin of, I would say, the term for cult classic, because here you have a film and you cover that, the history from going stage to theater, when it was released in theaters, and then how it grew just organically when there was no internet. I mean, I'm Gen X, so yeah, the 80s, I learned from my friend who then
Sure.
said, "Oh, there's audience participation parts to this as well." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, exactly.
And so yeah, and watching you take us on this journey that Rocky Horror goes on, and it's still going today, is just amazing. And you capture that energy. What would you say was probably the biggest surprise? Because you're interviewing your father, so you kind of have that connection. But
Mhm.
it seems like you both have a very honest relationship with each other. Like you can be honest and upfront with each other. What would you say one of the biggest surprises, without spoiling too much, came from talking to your father about Rocky?
I'm not sure if there were too many surprises because I heard of all the stories,
Oh,
Rocky stories growing up. So I was just a question of trying to get them on tape. When it came to talking to my dad about his personal journey, because it took him 30 years to feel comfortable admitting to himself and admitting to everyone else that he feels 30% female and 70% male. I think that was it, we really wanted. I really wanted to be able to capture that part of it. So through questions that I asked him, through archival footage of him in other interviews, and through the interview with his friend, dear old friend Chrissy Shrimpton, we were able to tell his story. Even though it's somewhat brief, because there's a lot to fit into the whole documentary. Like we wanted to make it 90 minutes. But it's still the placement of those stories and the timing of them and the touching moments within them that it paints a brief but a nice picture of his struggle
mhm.
and his story of where he is now, basically.
Yeah, yeah, you captured that very well. It's kind of interesting how those kind of go in parallel with Rocky. I really loved some of the archival footage that you showed in that, and I think you managed to capture a documentary to where even if people didn't know Rocky, I think they could enjoy this documentary. Were you trying to kind of going to like thread the needle, like here's a gateway to you've heard about it, here it is.
Well, that's the thing. I did, was never, even though we wanted to celebrate the fans and celebrate my dad's music and this and the whole history of Rocky, it
Mhm.
was very important for me to make it not feel like just this closed little thing just for these sets of people. No, I wanted to make a movie that everyone would be intrigued by because the story of Rocky is interesting by itself. When you
Mhm.
take out the midnight screenings and the effect on the community and my dad's personal journey, and you just have the story of the stage play from a theater that held 60 people that was only supposed to run for 3 weeks. Then it went to Roxy. Then it went flopped on Broadway. Then the movie flopped. And then, that story alone is interesting enough. So if I can't get people interested in that story, I'm not doing my job, basically. And then when we put in all of those other aspects that I mentioned, that's when it starts to become really rich.
Mhm.
When we played it at festivals, like you can tell from the beginning that people are locked in, and there was no pulling out of their phones or going to the bathroom or eating popcorn. It was like everyone was transfixed, and so haven't seen that many documentaries in theaters. Who does these days?
Right.
So to have a documentary play as well as it did with people, all the joy and cheering and the tears towards the end, like I was like, I couldn't be happier with the response, basically. And people coming up to me, thanking me for making the movie. And then also just the creative process of making the movie with the people that I did, my producers Adam Gibbs and Garrett Price, and my creative partner and old friend Avner Shiloah, and the rest of the team that have gone into it, the people who've been doing all the social media, other producer Ben Kaufman. It's that has been as satisfying as the response.
Mhm.
It's been basically one of the greatest things, if not the greatest thing that I've ever been a part of, and it's just been a joy to work with everyone.
Yeah, and then that joy comes across on screen, and I've always said that, you can always tell when someone's enjoying making the film are, because that comes through
Right,
naturally,
right, right.
in the tone, the editing,
Hmm.
everything, versus someone who's just making this because they were asked to.
Right, right. Well, that's very nice of you to say, and I think that that's a testament to the 2 months Avner and I spent in the editing room with him uh, together because we had so much. I had so much. I don't know about him. He might not have had as much fun as me, but I had a tremendous amount of fun seeing how it all came together and trying to figure it out. It went so quickly. I think we edited the film in 2 months because. And at the end, I was like, oh, "Do we really have to finish editing it now? Because I want to stay here." So yeah, that's a good place to be, basically, and we're very pleased with the result.
And it's well deserved because it's a positive documentary too.
Mm,
I think we need more of those. A lot of the documentaries like to focus on, because there's a natural dramatic element of
right.
drama, or
Mm.
oh, this destroyed someone or whatnot. But
Yeah.
everyone you talked to, the entire energy felt positive with this documentary. And I'm
Yeah.
slowly starting to see that. I saw another documentary. It happened to involve Barry Bostwick as well, making Megaforce, and
Yeah.
that too was positive, and makes me excited to see documentaries like this. Where you kind
Yeah.
of trying to not gloss over anything, but were you kind of just going for more of a positive documentary, a positive approach to telling the story?
Well, I think that that's Rocky itself has brought so much joy to people. Why there aren't too many negative aspects to it, at least not worth focusing on.
No.
So let's let why would we spend our time doing that? Let's the things that Susan Sarandon says at the end of the movie really sum it all up and make a great case for why Rocky has survived this long. I mean, she said in other interviews that after it's all said and done, Rocky's going to be the movie that she's remembered for. And that's after making, all of those classics like Thelma and Louise and countless other movies, Dead Man Walking. So yeah, the Rocky is full of joy, and to highlight that joy and continue to spread that joy is what it's all about.
Yeah, and everyone you talked to who was involved in the film seemed, had positive things to say about it, which again is not always something you see in a documentary.
No, no.
They're like, oh, the shoot was awful and that. But, even when they talked about the challenges, you just get this vibe like everybody did legitimately have fun making
Yeah,
this film.
absolutely. I think the vibe, and I think that starts to its earliest days when they were doing the rehearsals at the Royal Court Theatre. They had 3 weeks of rehearsals, and my dad mentions and has mentioned over the years that the vibe in the theatre was contagious. They were having so much fun up there in the theatre upstairs that it spread into the rest of the theatre. It spread into Kings Road. It spread into London because you couldn't get a ticket for it because the word of mouth was so good. And I think that initial atmosphere, that explosion of joy that they had in creating it, has lasted. It's basically like, the Big Bang essentially for that musical, and it's just continued to spread basically. And so hopefully we're a continuation and a supporting film to that legacy.
And I think Rocky is a great. I mean, the music, as you said, I've listened to that soundtrack so many times. I don't have it on vinyl yet. I became a vinyl head about 7 years ago. I got to get the vinyl, but I've got it on CD, and I know the
Right.
songs and that. And
Hmm.
watching your dad perform some of them, but in a different version,
Hmm.
that just added a whole nice little level to it. Did you just tell him, hey, could you sing a couple of these songs your way, or?
Well, it's funny because I knew I wanted to get Richard Hartley to New
Sure.
Zealand, so we
Mhm.
went to New Zealand once to interview my dad, and then the second time we went, we brought Richard Hartley out because I wanted them to sit down together at the piano because it'd been 50 years since they'd done that. And my dad on the day was like, "Well, we're not going to perform." I was like, "What do you mean we're not going to perform?" He said, "Well, we're just like if we're talking and we start talking about a song, then we'll might break into a little bit of it." And I was like, "Okay, sure, let's go for it." And you know, it was amazing because there were no those clips that you saw were all one take, and we never went back to do them again. So we got what we got, and we just had to live with it, because that was the vibe. And but while I was sitting there watching them, I'm like, we're getting it. We're getting enough. And I think the only one I had to uh cajole him into maybe was I'm Going Home, which we
Oh,
didn't use.
sure. Mhm.
And then, but the one that we loved and the one that ends the movie is Superheroes,
Yeah.
and that's such a great rendition of it. I mean,
Oh,
that's the one which is like really kind of. And so we were when we got into the editing room, like, okay, this can definitely go at because actually no, that was it. I thought it should go at the end, and so Avner and I are watching the clip, and then he does this great like ending to it and goes, "Get down, I'm a bad motherfucker." And then I was like, "Oh my God, that's the ending of the movie." It was like it was sort of like jumping up and down. It was so perfect because we'd forgotten that he ended it like that.
sure.
So yeah, but that people ask me like, I think you did what's most surprising and what's and I think that was the things that you would record and think, oh, that was nice, but kind of forget about when you get into the editing room and you're looking for to place them in different places and they start to like take on way more importance. I think Belinda Sinclair says, who was one of the original Janets on the stage production. She says, Rocky has had a real impact on our world, on our culture, and it definitely has. And but when I was doing the interview, I was like, oh, that's nice and everything. But then when we placed it right where we did, just before Susan's section at the end, like then it takes on that much more importance. And so, yeah, those were really great to find those gems which you could just kind of plug in.
Yeah, and it worked really well too, and it just keeps that emotional vibe up, and you end with a nice little heartfelt stinger and a laugh because yeah, when
Yeah,
he said that, I was like,
yeah.
that's a great way to end it, and
And then it hits so hard in the theaters as well, which is just the best. Like, because people think it's the credits, so it's a nice
right.
song. We go, and then it ends like that. I'm like, oh, perfect. It's like mic drop time, basically.
Well, superhero is probably my favorite. I mean, I enjoy them all, but superhero I've always enjoyed the most
Hmm.
out of all of them. And so, yeah, for him to do that was just hilarious. And my friends and I who have talked, a lot of film fans and that, we talk about, Academy Award winning films versus entertaining films. And which would you rather? And I think you hit it on the head when you're talking about Susan Sarandon. It's Thelma and Louise is enjoyed and watched, but more people are going to watch Rocky Horror more often than probably Titanic or as a large numbers,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and I think that speaks volumes of what kind of quality of film it is because at the end of the day, film is also meant to entertain,
Hmm.
and like your documentary, it's
Hmm.
very entertaining.
Yeah,
It's educate, sure, but get emotional feelings. But at the end of the day, you want to feel entertained. You want to feel something.
yeah.
You know,
And we've been very lucky. Like the audience has been great. They've been locked in, like right from the beginning of the screenings. And yeah, yeah, we want it to be entertaining. We want it to be fun for ourselves as well. We have to watch it,
you
hundreds
gotta
of
watch it
times.
many times, right?
We better make it enjoyable for yourselves. Otherwise, what the heck are you doing?
And I guess the last question I have. I mean, we mentioned "I'm Coming Home," but what would you say your favorite song is? Maybe besides "I'm Coming Home," out of all the soundtrack, the epic soundtrack that it is, what would you say is your
Well, I
favorite?
think we both share it. It's superheroes. Superheroes and I'm Going Home, my favorite. When I was young, I liked the more bombastic rock and roll songs. And then as time has gone on, I've been like, oh, actually, I like these more heartfelt ballads, really. And let's be real, and the last two lines of Superheroes so dope, like
Oh,
and profound. Crawling on the planet's face, some insects called the human race, lost in time and lost in
Lost in
space
Space
and
and
meaning.
Meaning.
That another mic drop, basically. Like, okay, right. Let's end this campy, trashy rock and roll musical with something super profound. And you're like, whoa, actually, maybe there's more to this than I thought, really. I think that's the vibe of that's why I'm going home and superheroes work so well at the end because then there's some poignancy to it all, and it hasn't just been like madcap fun. There's actually some real substance there.
And there's substance there as well as your documentary. And I thank you, Linus, for taking time to talk to me today about it. I'm very happy this exists. When I
Oh,
watched it, I wanted to watch it again. I couldn't because I had to go to bed, but it was very entertaining. And I
awesome.
think it may even expand the audience for Rocky Horror even more.
Well,
And, people will be talking about both films for quite some time, I think. So thank you very
no,
much.
wonderful. Listen, Mark, thanks for your kind words. It's been lovely chatting with you. Thanks very much.